Hello and welcome back to A Boring Revolution, your number one news source for everything in regards to the Boring Company. Thank you for joining me today on this exclusive episode. Great to see I finally got Ecamm working so I can see everyone's chat messages, which is great. So if you want to send me a question during this live stream, please do so. So today's episode, we're going to focus on an article that was written in the Guardian newspaper about the project in Las Vegas. This is the article in question. To be very frank with you, I am very surprised with a lot of things that are in this article because it gives me the impression that potentially someone on the inside is leaking information because it's very, very specific in regards to the actual contract that is going to be signed between the Boring Company and the Las Vegas Convention Center. So what I've done is I've taken some information from this article and another one, which was written in the last 3 or 4 days, and kind of summarized the information in that so we can get a better understanding of what's going on with the Las Vegas project. Because the great news is it's going to happen. And I knew from the moment that this project was proposed that this one was going to get accepted very quickly. The reason for that? Well, obviously the Gigafactory is in Nevada. The people who run Nevada like this kind of small government, quick decisions kind of, that's how they operate. They like things to be done quickly. They like things to be done for smaller amounts of money. They like less red tape. That's how they operate in Nevada. So I kind of got the impression 2 months ago that this was going to be a breeze for us to get this project. So if we go to, bear with me a minute, guys. If we go to, oh no, what's going on, Ecamm? No, you can't see that. Okay, sorry guys, we're having a bit of problems with the live stream. Let me see what I can do here. Here we are. There we go. Sorry about that. So, Las Vegas, Nevada. Project news. Hey Oliver, how you doing, mate? No spoilers. No spoilers, mate. So let's get rid of some of these boxes. All right. Okay. News on the Las Vegas project. So, project is at the Las Vegas Convention Center. It's been agreed upon now that it's going to be a $44 million contract to build a high-speed mass transit system, as we previously spoke in that other episode that we did. Amazingly, and I think it might surprise some of you, I actually think this is a damn good idea. The contract withholds over 2/3 of payments until construction is complete and specifies hefty penalties should the system fail to accommodate enough passengers. And I'll speak about that in a minute, because I think they're asking for 4,000 passengers per hour, I believe, which is very doable. But obviously, if for some reason there's some kind of issue with the system and they drop below that threshold, potentially we could have some problems in terms of money being withdrawn from the contract. So this is a quote that I received, I think it was the Vegas Sun. The project is a gamble on technology that has yet to be demonstrated at a commercial scale and on a company whose founder has a reputation for missing deadlines. Now that's all fair and good, but Elon Musk always delivers. He always says he's going to deliver something that seems impossible or seems beyond expectations, and he'll do it late, but he will actually do it. and then he'll benefit from that thing that he's achieved for many, many years afterwards. Like the Model S and the Model X, for example, and SpaceX, Falcon 9. You could go on and on. But it doesn't necessarily usually matter to Elon Musk if he's a few months or several months late. But in this particular instance, the Las Vegas Convention Center has to operate. They need this done on time, because the time that it's done is absolutely critical to them running the conferences. They need this system. In the event that the Boeing Code does not receive a certificate of occupancy for the tunnel system, the authority would receive all of its money back. Not 90%, not 95%, 100% of the money be given back to the Las Vegas authorities if they don't achieve it, which is incredible. The Boeing company beat, and this is the other company that we're going to talk about as well, Doppelmayer's proposal, which would cost over $215 million, which was just $171 million more expensive than what the Boeing company proposed. At the end of the day, it always comes down to price. The Boeing company is going to win hands down every time. So let's just quickly go over the specs before we get down to the articles. It's going to involve the construction of 2 tunnels. They'll be both 0.8 miles long, and there'll be a station at either end and then a middle station, so 3 underground stations overall. I'm imagining that they will be stations with elevators for passengers, or travelators, or escalators, sorry. But I've not seen the drawings yet, so I can't really confirm that 100%. But that's what I think they're proposing. The construction will begin as soon as September 2019, with the project completion by November 2020. Is a 44.25 million fixed price contract, so it can never go. When they say fixed price contract, it's not like a design and build. It's fixed price. That means that any expenditure that goes over that, doesn't necessarily matter how you end up spending more. You have got to take that. You've got to take that hit. So the Boeing company will have to take the cost if it ends up costing 50. They'll end up having to, front that 5.75 million. The Boeing company would get only $1 million up front, receive more money as it hits various milestones. And this is why I'm kind of skeptical as to how the Guardian newspaper has got hold of this information. So, because this is very, very kind of specific information in regards to this contract. Unless you actually read the contract, which I'd imagine would be quite a big document, how would you know these specific clauses? Unless you were in the room when it was being negotiated, potentially. For excavating the first station, they get $2.5 million. And that's after they get $1 million up front. Then for completing the first 100 feet of tunnel, which isn't very much, 100 feet is next to nothing, is $3.2 million. Payments would increase when the first autonomous electric vehicles start testing, around 6 weeks before the system opens, and that's in late 2020. So the plan is for it to start in September of this year and then open in Q4 2020. So it's around the 12 to 15 month mark. Contract specifies that if the system is unable to provide full passenger capacity, the Boeing company will pay a penalty of $300,000 per event. Yeah? So imagine how many events the Las Vegas Convention Center is holding every single month. And then multiply that by 300,000. That is some serious liquidated damages. It's up to a maximum of 4.5. So, I mean, that is not bad at all. So this was the original plans that we had a look at about 2 months ago. The area that's in the bold blue line, that is the under the convention centre. And the area that's in the dashed line, that is the proposed project. So how they would extend this. The actual convention centre finished proposal would look something like this. So I think I predicted this. I can't remember. I've not watched my previous video. But I kind of anticipated that it would go for the more simple route So they've kind of gone basically almost for a straight line, really. So there's a central station near the North Hall, and then you've got a station just off Convention Centre Drive, and then there's another station here to the east of South Hall. It's good little project to start on. I'm very bullish on this project. I think we're going to do this without hitting any of the penalties. I think we're going to exceed that 4,000 passengers per hour quite easily just by upping the number of pods on the system. I think they'll finish a couple of months early. I think very easy. Very easy. I mean, they potentially might just do it with 1 TBM and just go the first 0.8 miles and then turn it around at the other side and then go back. That's potentially one way they could do it. Maybe 2 TBMs, but they've got plenty of time to do it. They've got 12 months. So not that bad. So, we're getting some questions. We're getting some questions, guys. This is what I'm talking about. So, Neil Carmichael. This is the perfect fit for Las Vegas, as well as being functional. It has a bit of novelty and glamour. Absolutely agree. I think that on the back of this project, when people realise that this project is very doable, it does exactly what it says on the tin. It's moving, 12 to 16 passengers at a time, lots and lots of pods shooting past the station constantly. You're not having to wait to get onto a pod. Maybe you're waiting there 20 seconds, you get on a pod, and the next people come. There won't be that much queuing on a normal day. That's what I think. Right, so I'm still getting used to Ecamm Live, guys, so I'm just trying to work out how I can switch my tabs. Right, okay, so let's go back to Chrome. Here we go. There's got to be an easier way of doing that. So, there's an article in here. In fact, let's go to Oliver Quinn's question. That's like claiming the first iPhones had no hiccups. Shortages happen with new products. They give Elon such a hard time. Yeah. I kind of agree. So, if we let's go to this article. This is the article that, in fact, is the only article. If you go on to Google and you search for the Boeing Company, this is the only article that's saying that the Boeing Company have actually won this particular project, which usually I wouldn't want to talk about because you don't want to take one newspaper's word for it. But because of the specifics of this article, and I'll give you an example. So first of all, they've got the new contract fee, which is slightly, let's say, in fact, in the middle of what we thought it would be. Then, if we go down here, the Boeing Company's 44.25 million fixed contract came in at about a fifth of the reported 215 million bid submitted by a rival elevated railway system, which is this company here, Doppelmayr. And here it is. Here are the milestones. How would they know that? How would you know that unless you were in the room when they were talking, or you had access to this contract before it was signed? I find that very interesting. For the first station, and they get 3.2 million for completing the first 100 feet of tunnel, which will be relatively quick to do. They might even bang that out in a day. And in fact, you know what? To be fair, when you first start up a TBM, you're trying to calibrate it and get it, functioning so it's going to work properly. So you might only be doing, 10, 15 foot a day to begin with, and then work your way up. So maybe not in a day. Maybe I'm being a bit too ambitious with that, but I'd imagine that they'd do that in less than 4 or 5 days at the very worst. Pace would increase the first autonomous electric vehicles start testing around 6 weeks before the system opens in late 2020. The Boeing Company's final payment will depend on demonstrating that it can transport, here it is, 4,400 passengers an hour, day after day. So what is that per... That is 440 divided by 60. Even once the Las Vegas loop is up and running, the Boeing company is not off the hook. The contract specifies that if the system is unable to provide full passenger capacity during the first 18 months, they get this massive fine. Musk system is likely to face its toughest test almost immediately. The world's most attended trade show, the Consumer Electronics Show, or CES, descends on Las Vegas every January, and I watch it every January, with the 2021 exhibition starting just a few weeks after the loop's planned completion date. Okay, so this is another article that I read, talking about this particular. This is from earlier though, so the information from The Guardian has come out a couple of days after this. It keeps mentioning this company here. So some of the board members at the Las Vegas Convention Center do not necessarily think the Boeing company project is a good idea, and they're a little bit worried about it. But the project that they're trying to push in to replace the Boeing company is very expensive and is based on technology that was obsolete 50 years ago. So board members El Fiore and Carolyn Goodman, the Las Vegas mayor, spoke in support of a competing transit proposal by Austrian-based company Doppelmayr Garaventa. The Boeing company and Doppelmayr were the two finalists selected after the authority put out a request for the proposal last year. Goodman emailed a letter to her fellow board members on Monday in support of Doppelmayr, which proposed a more traditional above-ground convention centre campus transit system. Doppelmayr has been in existence for 125 years. Yeah, I'm sure they have been, but that doesn't necessarily mean very much. You know, I can name quite a few companies that have been around for hundreds of years. It doesn't necessarily mean they're competent. You're just good at making money. Goodman said they already have projects here that are operating successfully. The Boeing Co is 3 years old and has yet to deliver a final package on anything, which is not entirely true because we completed the Hawthorne test tunnel. Here we've got a question coming in from Bubble Elvis. When the system is in low use, then where are the unused tunnel buses stalled? Or do... It's not coming out very clear, is it? Or do the unused buses stay in the tunnel and then are condemned to drive up and down the tunnels with no passengers? No, that's incorrect. What happens with the pods is when they're not necessarily needed in the tunnel, they can be used external to the venue as autonomous taxis. So as long as the state is happy with them operating outside the venue, they can be driving in and around the convention centre, say within a 4-mile radius, picking up and dropping off people using the Tesla network, or they could just be parked up at some warehouse somewhere within a few miles of the convention centre. The pods will be fully autonomous. You'll be able to use them on the road like a taxi. They'll be somewhere in between level 4 and maybe even level 5 autonomous, but the majority of the time they'll be down in the tunnels. Probably what will happen is some pods will stay in the tunnel for say 3 or 4 hours, and then as the battery is coming to the end of its life, they'll swap out with other pods. So there'll be this constant kind of substitution of pods at various increments. Why? Oh, that's okay. Sorry, I just thought I was going to freeze then. Okay, guys, I've been talking for 25 minutes, and let me just quickly show you this Doppelmayr. This is the company that wants to take on the Boeing company, and they think that they can charge the good people of Nevada $220 million for their project when the Boeing company can do it for $44 million. So it's no competition. This is how I will summarize what we've basically covered today. No one at this moment in time can beat the Boeing company in terms of price. It's impossible. they don't need to build up on the surface. They don't need to buy land on the surface. They don't need to deal with all the disruption that building on the surface encompasses. Yeah, all they need to do is focus on their TBM technology, making sure that's very efficient and very fast. They can build their stations simultaneously, so they can build station 1, 2 and 3 simultaneously. It doesn't really matter, and then they can just join it up with the tunnel. They're going to use all the spoil from that tunnel and convert it into bricks, which they are then going to sell for 5 or 10 cents a brick, which then brings in even more profit. The traditional systems, these traditional systems of these how would you describe this? It's kind of a gondolier, isn't it? It's like you've got a gondolier, you've got your kind of above ground elevated railway, you've got your light rail, your trams. You just can't compete with the Boeing company. And the Boeing company can just increase its capacity over time by putting more pods in the system and making the system longer. So if these companies think that they can do things the old way, and we all know what that means, it means that behind closed doors, they're sitting down with people at their fancy little parties and handing over these brown envelopes. Please, can you help me get my project approved? I understand that you've got some pull with the Las Vegas, Nevada Convention Center. And unfortunately, that's how it works, usually. But how can you compete when the other project is coming in at below 1/3 the price that you're quoting? You can't. And that's the end of it, unfortunately, for these companies. So here we are. Oh yeah. No problem. Thank you, Bubble Elvis. Paul Taylor, is the Hawthorne Test Tunnel complete? Yes, the Hawthorne Test Tunnel is complete. It was completed quite a long while ago. I believe they have built the elevator that was in or underneath a property in Hawthorne. That has been completed now. I am unsure if they're actually testing that, but they're definitely running pods through the actual tunnels, testing them and anticipating how they can improve that or what they need to do on the next project. And I think on that bombshell, guys, I think we will finish up. If this will let me finish up. Thank you for watching The Boring Revolution. Appreciate all your time, guys. And hopefully we'll see you on the next episode. So, thank you and goodbye. So, that's all, guys. We'll see you on the next episode. Thank you for watching. Unless you've got any more questions, if anyone wants to ask me any particular questions about the Boeing Company in terms of any projects that they're doing or any piece of technology the Boeing Company is developing, you've got, so let's say 30 seconds to get a question in and then I'll answer it for you. Aha, here we go. So, the planned Hawthorne Test Tunnel was shortened by approximately 0.6 miles and the spur to the garage on residential property was not built when the tunnel was opened in December. As far as I'm aware, they finished that. I know they started it. So they started building that spur that was linking that property in Hawthorne with the elevator. They started building that quite a long while ago because they had the actual machine in that excavation pit. The word is escaping me now. It's not a TBM. It's like a TBM, but it doesn't work. It's jacked up from the rear. So anyway, that